Yeah, it's funny. Well, the zigzag is certainly an interesting way of thinking about it. And a lot of people have that, even the emotional zigzag. As Tom and I were just kind of talking about when it comes to finances and, investing, making sure you're properly invested. The emotional of the zigzag, we're probably going to have to coin that now, but it's huge. And really the same thing can be said in real estate. It seems that, at least in our mortgage side of things, people are really kind of zigging and zagging towards they want to buy a house, and then there's a bad report in the Seattle Times or PI, and then they don't want to buy a house, and then they do, and then they don't. And then it's an amazing emotional experience, especially for first-time homebuyers who haven't really been there before. Staci Baldwin joins us, who's been featured on HGTV House Hunting, as well as a 5-star realtor in Seattle Magazine. Welcome, Staci.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah. So let's just go kind of right into this. First-time homebuyers are scared.
They are. And it takes a lot more hand-holding, nurturing, educating. Really, that's probably the biggest part of working with first-time homebuyers is the education process. It's scary. It's a new experience, and they don't know what to think with everything that's going on in the economy and the market today.
So what are some of those things, or what are some aspects of real estate, and what is, when you work with a lot of first-time home buyers, I would imagine it's kind of why you're here.
Yeah.
And so there's this education process that really is important when it comes to you helping them understand what's going on. I mean, what are some of the big keys that you try to teach them, or what are some of those big teaching points?
Well, I think a lot of time first-time home buyers, first of all, they have no idea what the process is. They don't know what earnest money is. They don't know what escrow is. They don't know what title is and why it's all important to their process and why do they have to pay for it. And because, of course, they're very penny wise, which is understandable.
Sure.
And also it just requires a lot of patience as well because they're just anxious about buying and the responsibility that comes with owning a home versus renting. So I think for them, it's a lot of hand-holding.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and I think the expectation a lot of times exceeds what the reality is as well, because they think, oh, prices are low, so that means I should get everything I asked for at a rock bottom price, but there's still a market economy that has to be, taken into consideration as well.
Right. We see that on the mortgage side. It's like, well, wait, they get approved for a certain amount, but now they think they're literally going to go buy their dream home for our $200,000 in Seattle.
Right.
So there still is that scope of people not maybe getting what they want at the current price. And it's really taking a longer time for these guys to pull the trigger and get comfortable and understand.
That's for sure. I think because there's not that sense of urgency. They see things sit on the market a lot longer. And if they're just starting to look, they don't realize, hey, maybe this is the perfect house for you. And that's where my experience comes in as well, because I've seen a lot of homes. I've seen good homes, bad homes, and I can set the expectation better for people. I think there is a tendency to sit on the fence because they keep thinking, oh, well, maybe there'll be something better, and they just don't always understand that this is a great deal or this is a great property, and I think that's where they need someone who's professional, knows what they're doing to help them in that way.
Is this with the lack of sensors, like we've seen mortgage rates now tick up, almost 0.25% in the last couple weeks, month-ish. And, it's interesting because we've seen not necessarily buyers, but at least on the refinance side, all of a sudden they're like, oh, I missed it. And we're like, I don't know what you're waiting for. I wonder if you see the same things with your buyers as far as like, when they realize, my payment just went up $100, $200 because interest rates went up that quarter or 0.3%. Do you see them gathering that information, or are they still a little blinded, or how do you feel about that?
Actually, no, I think that will induce a sense of urgency, because then that could mean that rates are going to continue to rise, and that changes their buying power, of course, because maybe they could afford a $350,000 house, and now they're down to perhaps a
$325 or whatever,
something like that. And when you're looking at $350, and then you have to look at a house that's $300, there is a difference,
Absolutely.
And then they're discouraged in that regard. So I think, yes, it does affect how they feel, and then they become more serious. Like, they don't want to miss out on that opportunity if they're really serious about buying, and also they want to maintain their buying power. So,
and there must be some coaching that you do for them as far as like knowing when you're ready. I mean, knowing that, hey, it might be time to pull the trigger.
Yes.
I mean, hey, look, this is the deal. We've been looking for 6 months, for 8 months, for 3 years, whatever the number is. And do you ever feel like, geez, this is just, they're not real buyers. I mean, they're just tire kickers out there.
I've had a few experiences like that. However, they've always ended up closing. And some people just need more time, one, to feel more comfortable. Maybe it is they are just looking for that perfect property, which is fantastic because I want everybody to be so excited when they land in their first home. It becomes a lifetime relationship, and that's what I'm trying to build. It's trust and all of that. But yes, some people do. I've had people take a couple years to look for a house, and they're buying.
Although now they made a great, they made a great decision at this point in time.
They did, but rates went up and down, prices went up and down. But really, they've just been. I mean, this just closed recently, so really, in those 2 years, a lot of it was pretty stable as far as prices, staying pretty low, and but it was worth it, and it paid off for them. They're excited. They're, in their new home, and it is their dream home. It is their dream first home.
Right.
And I'm excited to be able to have been a part of that.
We have a couple minutes left. Again, we're here with Staci Baldwin, managing broker with Cooper Jacobs Real Estate. Talk a little bit about the first-time home buyers, from maybe before the big dip or crash, whatever you want to call it, and now.
Well, that kind of goes back to what we were just speaking to, the sense of urgency. Before, when things were flying off, basically flying off the shelf, the minute they came on the market, we were out there the second. People were taking time off work to run out and look at a house, putting in offers, doing whatever
Signing
they
up
had
just
to
to put in anything. Like, please let me buy this house. I don't even want to look at it.
I don't know that I had any like that, but pretty close. I mean, we were running out to look at houses the minute they came on the market. Now people wait, and things do get snapped up from underneath them though, because they don't want to look as quickly. So they're like, well, I'll look this weekend. And if it's a really good house and a good value, then it's still going to sell very quickly. It doesn't mean it's going to be sitting
We've
there.
actually heard a lot of that here on the show, with the right house, priced right, looking right, does sell. I mean, the problem is there's a lot of garbage out there.
There is, but I've been in many multiple offer situations in the last 4 months. Many.
Which is, I mean, that it's got to show some change in the market. Well, Staci, thanks so much for joining us. Real quick, just last thing, you talked about the process and kind of how you work with first-time home buyers. What is that first meeting, or how does that look for you?
What I have them do is we sit down for coffee and have them bring their wish list of their wants and their needs, what they're hoping to find, and basically what they're willing to live with and without. I think a lot of times buyers find out when they start looking that it's totally changes from their initial meeting. And so that's really, we get to know each other over coffee, what they want, and then I sit down and kind of explain step by step, well, here's what we go through from contract to closing. And I leave them with a pamphlet of information, and there's always inevitably questions, but I think it's great up front to educate people so that they're not blindsided at the offer with the ask for an earnest money check or something.
Right.
So it's a step-by-step process, and also it's an opportunity for them to ask questions of me, which inevitably they always have.
And I think we're going to go to break here, but there's also a big point about giving people the information they need at the time they need it. I've seen when people come into our office for, get pre-approved, and they have 2 or 3 hours of questions, and part of you is like, you're not even asking the right questions. You know what I mean? And that's got to be something that you got to go look. These people have to trust you to be able to show them the things that are important. But when they start there's just questions they ask. It's like, oh my God, your uncle, the plumber who owns 3 houses, told you to ask this question. It has nothing to do with you. Nothing.
It's true.
Yeah.
I see it happens for you too. But yeah, it's like my best friend or my neighbor, and really trust your professional.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, thanks so much. Again, that is Staci Baldwin, managing broker with Cooper Jacobs. So, again, if you're out there, you're looking at houses or thinking about it, educating yourself and knowing what's important to you is such a key part of that. A lot of people, when they start maybe looking for somebody to work with, they may end up looking online. A lot of people do. They may look through friends or social networks, all sorts of different ways people can find people, especially online. And Keith Krantz is going to join us here in just a few minutes when we get back from break. We're going to talk a little bit about social media and how that all has transcended real estate, financial planning, mortgage, and how people really find people. My name is Ben Brashen. That was Staci Baldwin. You're listening to Brashenomics.